This is Dave Weiner here, and I'm going to try something really extremely radical. And I apologize in advance for the lack of production ability or the quality of this. This is called Winging It 101. What I want to do today is I want to actually set up a River4 installation on my Macintosh. And if everything goes well, which I expect that it actually will, you should get a feeling for what's involved in doing this and what success looks like, because I think a lot of people, when they are confronted with basically what amounts to installing server software on their machine, there's a lot of things that just don't connect up. And one of the things I've done in the last couple of days is just really worked on making it easier to get this thing up and running. So that's what I'm going to try to do now. So the first thing I have to do is launch a terminal window. And well, I can see right off the bat that you're not seeing what I'm doing because of the way things are set up. What I did was I launched the terminal app, which is a app that's down in the toolbar. You know what? I'm not going to stop this, because I could do this a million times and I would never get it perfectly right. So I'm going to, okay, so I clicked on, there's this terminal icon. If you don't see it in your toolbar at the bottom, in your dock at the bottom of your screen or the left of your screen or wherever you put your dock, go into the Applications folder and, here, let me get that up here, the Applications folder. Create a new Finder window here. And Applications, let's just see exactly where terminal is. Now you get to see all the apps that I have on my machine. No, it's not here. It must be in Utilities. There it is, terminal.app. So that's what you want to run. And it's a really old way of accessing computers. It goes way, way back to the 1970s. You're really hooking into the lizard brain of computers. I mean, this is the way we used to interact with computers, like when I was first starting out doing it. So it's all very familiar to me, to most people who use graphical user interfaces, which is pretty much everybody. This is the big hurdle right here. It's like, okay, now what? All right, well, it's actually not that hard to think what to do. So I've set up a folder here. I followed the instructions on the using River4 with file system storage, and I've already installed Node.js on my system, and all that's very straightforward. I mean, really, if you can follow instructions, you can do that. It's really not hard. So let's see. I've created this. I have this disk called Montreal, and it's empty. It's a sort of just a little disk I have sitting around, not doing anything. And I've copied the two basic files onto that disk, river4.js, and that's the River4 app. You can see that I've already just really recently, it's 9:34 on Monday, and I've just updated this. So this is really fresh. And then there's this mysterious file called package.json. And you need both of these things to get going here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change directory to volumes/Montreal, and I'm going to ls. ls shows me what's in the directory. You see package.json and river4.js. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is one of the things that the instructions tell me to do. Let's go over to the instructions. It says do a thing called npm install. So let's get this mofo back here. So I'm just going to, as I copied it, I'm just going to paste. Click return. And you know what? It's complaining about a bunch of stuff. Ignore it. It's no big deal. You can see there are no real error messages in here, and it all worked. See, gets down to the bottom. And what this does is it goes out onto the net and grabs all of the things that River4 needs in order to be able to run. And how did it know what River4 needed to be able to run? In order to run it, looked in package.json. That's what's in package.json. It's nothing more than a recipe to Node. NPM is part of Node.js. And it's just a recipe that says, this is how you build the environment that River4 needs in order to be happy and healthy and productive. Okay, all right, I've done that. Now what? Oh, well, all I have to do is, well, if I read the instructions, right, it says here, I just go. Now, you realize that I did a lot of talking here, and I could have done this a lot more quickly if I was in a big rush, but I'm not. And so now I just copied node river4.js and pasted in, hit return. And guess what, folks? I got River4 running on my machine. And so it's sitting here, and you can see it came up and it said River4 version 0.117a, running on port 1337, and file path is River4 data. Okay, what that means is this is the version of the software, no big deal. I access it on port 1337. I'll show you what that means in a second. And it's showing me where the data is, where its data is. And I'll show you that first, because that's kind of where, let me see, where did I put the damn folder? Here, there it is. Thing is, I'm only showing a little bit of my screen. But there you go. Okay, I should have shown you this before, right? So when I ran npm install, it created this node modules folder, which you can very safely ignore, but don't delete. And it's got all the crap in it that that River4 needs. And then River4 created this folder called River4 data. So what's in here? All right, well, there's a folder called data. I'll look there in a minute. There's a folder called lists. There's nothing in there. And there's a folder called rivers. Again, nothing in these two folders. And this is where the action is going to take place, is in here. Because nothing is going to happen in River4. Let's see if I can get it back. There it is. Nothing interesting is going to happen in River4 until I tell it what feeds I want it to read. Remember, River4 is a RSS aggregator, and I need, it doesn't come knowing what to read, basically. You have to tell it what to read. Okay, well, and there luckily is a way to do that. There's this folder called lists, and I'll open it up and you can see it's empty. Now, if you go to follow the instructions, see where it says, scroll down here a little bit, you can't see this. Okay, so for now, lists is the important folder. Copy a few OPML subscription lists into the lists folder. If you need some help, which I will need some help, to test your setup, you can download some examples. This should be changed to say some examples here. And if you follow that link, you get to an archive, you get to a web page, which points to an archive. And trust me on this one. What you get is a folder full of OPML files. And let me find, I actually have that already downloaded here, right here. So there. This is what you get when you unzip that folder that we were just looking at. So you get these are kind of old actually. I'm probably going to update these. I hope to update them soon. And so this is a subscription list that has feeds in it that are about Apple, about the NBA. This is an amalgamation of a lot of New York Times feeds. So this river will contain just tons of New York Times stories. Try to get them all, but yeah, we don't. This has some podcasts, tech news, world news. I'm just going to copy all of these, all right? So where did I go to? My lists folder. There's my lists folder. Okay, what am I going to do? Select all. Hold down the Option key. That means make a copy. Don't move them. Oh, I didn't have to do it. It's a different disk. And drag. Right? See? This is and let up. So now I have some lists in my lists folder. Let's go back out so I can show you where we are. There. All right. Now, before we miss all the beautiful action here, let's get this thing. Okay, so there's River4, and it's just sitting there. It's doing this. Every minute it puts out a little thing that says, okay, here's the time, here are the number of items in the task queue, number of sockets, blah, 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 blah. Who gives a shit, right? And then the number of feeds. Now, this is important, and that tells you what version of the software. 0 feeds. But I have a clue that at the top of the minute, it's going to look to see if there's anything in the lists folder. And this time, it will actually see something. I'm knocking on wood now. Praising Murphy. There, you see? Look, it did it. Okay, so let's just scroll up here a little bit so I can stop this and show you what happened. So it said read one list, list name equals apple.opml, and this is where it found it. And look, it's finding New York Times, NBA, and check this out. It's already starting to read the feeds. Isn't that nice? Look at that. I mean, it's so anxious. It just totally wants to read feeds. As soon as you give it one to read, it's just going to go to town. Even before it's even read the next list, it's already reading feeds. Okay, and then there it goes. Tech, world, blah, blah, blah. And now nothing but feed reading. It's just like totally, look at all the reading. Now it starts to get interesting. So remember this thing you've been seeing, I didn't even mention this, the get localhost 1337. Well, all right, so the thing that I haven't told you yet, although if you read ahead in the docs here, you would have seen it, is that actually River4 is also a web server in addition to being an aggregator, which is how you communicate with it as a user. So it says here, if you go to the home page, so it's a web server running on port 1337. Remember we saw that when it started up, it said, oh, we're on port 1337. Okay, I'll show you what this means now. So if you go to the home page of the server, you'll see blah, 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 and it has a nice little link there to it. So I'm going to do that right now. You ready? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so now I need to explain to you what the hell is going on here. All right? What's going on is that it says, I know about 5 different rivers, but there's not anything in these rivers yet. Let's go back out to the files and I'll show you how it knows that, all right? So here's the list folder. Remember, it has the lists in it that I put there. I actually put these there, all right? And this is the place where River4 puts, oh, and look at that. Look, you see, there are one river file for each one of those lists. See the correspondence? Apple, apple. It's like comparing apples to apples. NBA, NBA, river. So this is the input. This is the output. Okay? And this is data. Now notice that these are very small files. It's only got 430 bytes in it. That means there's really nothing in here. Let's just go. This is what they don't advise you do in demo school. But there, this is what an empty river looks like. It's an empty river. All I did, by the way, to do that was drag it onto the text edit icon, which is also down here in my doc. You can't see it. And normally, under normal circumstances, you just never look at these things. This is for the software to look at. All right? Now, I want to show you another thing here, because let's go back to terminal. There, you see it's doing this get localhost server data. Why is it doing that? Well, because in another tab, where would that be? I'll screw it. I'll just open up a third one. Okay, what I had running, and it's running somewhere in here. It's one of my tabs here. You'll probably find it. I'll bet this is it right here. Yeah, this is it. Okay. So this is called the dashboard. This is the River4 dashboard. And I want to show you where it's at. You see, it's localhost :1337/dashboard. That's how you get there, okay? So if you were to type that, if you have River4 running on your system, on your computer, at home, or wherever, it could be your laptop, it doesn't matter. It could be a Windows machine. It could be a Unix machine. Anywhere Node runs, it could be, okay? If you were to type in this exact string, this is what you get, okay? So it says, this is the version of the software that's running. This is how long it's been running. That's really about how long I've been doing this demo, which I ought to wind up pretty soon. And then the number of feeds that have been read this run, number of feeds we're following. So it's read each feed once now, is what you can conclude from this. It gives you the name of the last feed read and news stories this run. Okay, no news stories this run. And all I'm seeing here is, I don't know why this is here. It's picking this up from somewhere else. And this is a bug we're looking at. Not, let's just be clear. My software has bugs. All right, and then it says, how long since the last feed read? 1.79 minutes, 1.82 minutes. It doesn't read all the feeds all the time. I think it's every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes it does a cycle through all the feeds. This is something you can configure. So it's going to wait a little while before it sees anything, before it tries again. And it's not actually going to report anything in the rivers until it finds anything new. So I think this is the point where I'm sorry to say we have to part company. What I will do though is where this video is displayed, it'll probably be on the River4 blog. I'm going to put a screenshot of what this page looks like after it's found some stories, and I'll click around. Maybe I'll do another video later that shows you what ends up in these. You see, this is the thing about rivers. I'll close with this one thought, is that it's different from most other kinds of software in that it's taking a sample of the world outside, and it's totally unpredictable as to when the New York Times will publish another story. It doesn't show the stories that were in the feed when it first starts up, because there just would be too many of them, and that's probably not a good idea. Probably should have it so it shows you some stuff right away. But we're getting there, and it's getting a lot better. If you tried to install River4 in the past, I'm sure you'll recognize that this has gotten quite a bit easier. There's so many things I didn't have to show you how to do, and that's the key to making software really easy to work with. So anyway, my name is Dave Weiner. The software is called River4, and what else do I want to tell you? I don't know. This is probably a good place to go to find news about it, river4.smallpic.com. And you find it on GitHub. It's there too. So thank you so much for listening. And now I'm going to try to figure out how to stop this thing. And I believe I just figured that out. So talk to you later.